I stopped counting the days after the blood started appearing in my bathroom mirror. Not on it, in it. Suspended between the glass and the silver backing, moving like something alive, forming patterns that looked almost like writing. My apartment in Denver's Capitol Hill district had always been weird. Built in 1887, survived 3 fires, the landlord warned me about the settling sounds. But this was different. This was active. Dr. Adrian Wolfe, that's me. Theoretical physicist, recently unemployed after my paper on dimensional folding got me laughed out of MIT. Turns out suggesting that space could be compressed, like origami, doesn't win tenure. But I knew I was right. The math worked. The universe could be smaller than it appeared, surfaces touching that seemed light years apart. The mirror thing started 3 weeks after I moved in. Same day, I got the package. No return address, just my name in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside, a data drive and a note on yellowed paper. They came back wrong. Check the suppressed NASA files, October 3rd, 2026, Torres Protocol. You'll understand the mirrors soon. A friend from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I should have tossed it, should have assumed it was campus revenge, some grad student hazing the disgraced professor. But curiosity is my only vice. Well, that and the drinking problem my ex-wife was always on about, so I plugged it in. 400 gigabytes of classified NASA footage, medical reports, transcripts marked Project Threshold, Eyes Only. And at the center of it all, footage from the Mars landing I'd watched live on TV 7 months ago, the one where the crew died in a pressure seal malfunction according to the official story. Except the footage on this drive showed something else entirely. I watched Commander Michael Torres and his team enter a black pyramid that appeared in no previous surveys. Watched them walk corridors filled with technology that bent light in ways that made my eyes water. Watched them find warnings carved in English about seeding experiments and failed attempts. Watched Torres touch something in the throne room. Then the feed cut, but the timestamp kept running. 17 minutes of static then. The video showed them again, changed. Eyes reflecting angles that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space, speaking in perfect unison about understanding and tests and coming home. I'd played the footage dozens of times before I noticed the date stamp in the corner, October 3rd, 2026, 1447 UTC. But below that, partially corrupted, another timestamp, March 15th, 2027, 9:22 UTC, yesterday's date. The mirror in my bathroom started bleeding the same hour I noticed the timestamp discrepancy. And this morning, I found a handprint on the glass, from the inside, that matched none of my own. My phone rang at 3 a.m. unknown number. I answered without thinking. Dr. Wolfe. The voice was wrong. Multiple voices speaking as one. You have 17 minutes to decide. The doorway in your mirror opens both ways. We need someone who understands the math. Someone who already knows space can fold. The line went dead. The mirror rippled. I should have run. Instead, I reached for my notebook. The mirror's surface felt cold, but not like glass. Like skin that had been dead for hours. I pressed my palm against it, half expecting resistance. Instead, my hand sank through the first inch before stopping, suspended in something that felt like gel. The handprint on the other side moved closer, matching mine finger for finger. This is insane, I muttered, pulling back. My reflection didn't quite match my movements. There was a fraction of a second delay, like watching myself on satellite video. The data drive sat on my bathroom counter, still plugged into my laptop. I'd been watching the footage on loop for 3 hours, trying to decode what Torres and his crew had seen in that throne room. The equations carved into the pyramid walls looked almost familiar, like corrupted versions of the dimensional folding theories that had destroyed my career. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Check file 47B. The medical reports. See what they became. I opened the laptop with shaking hands. Too much caffeine, I told myself, ignoring the fact I hadn't slept in 2 days. File 47B loaded slowly, probably encrypted 6 ways to Sunday before someone at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory decided to leak it to a washed-up professor in Denver. Pre-mission physicals for Torres and his crew, normal human anatomy, standard bone density, expected organ placement. Then scans taken from... I checked the timestamp twice. These were dated 4 days ago, taken at an undisclosed facility in Nevada. The same crew, same names, same faces in the identification photos. But the skeletal structure was wrong, extra joints in places humans didn't have joints, rib cages that seemed to fold inward, creating impossible spaces in the chest cavity, brain scans showing activity in sections that shouldn't exist. The imaging software kept throwing error messages, trying to render neural pathways that extended beyond the skull. "They came back," I whispered. Another text. "They never left. Check the coordinates. Compare them to your address." That made no sense. I pulled up the Mars landing coordinates from the corrupted files. Acidalia Planitia, approximately 40.4 degrees north, 30.1 degrees west. Then I checked my apartment's location. 39.7392 degrees north, 104.9903 degrees west. Nothing matched. Different planet, different dash. Wait, I opened my astronomy software, the same program I used for teaching before MIT decided I was too controversial. Plugged in Mars's coordinates, converted them to Earth's rotational reference frame, adjusted for the planet's different axis tilt. The numbers scrolled across my screen, recalculating. My apartment building sat at the exact corresponding location. If you folded Mars onto Earth like 2 sheets of paper, matching their coordinate systems, the pyramid's position would overlay perfectly with my bathroom. "No," I said to the empty room, "that's not how space works. You can't just..." The mirror rippled again, and this time I saw something move behind my reflection. A figure, standing in my bathroom but not quite occupying the same space. Tall, wearing what looked like a spacesuit, but the helmet was wrong. Transparent, showing a face that kept shifting between human and something else entirely. I spun around. The bathroom was empty, but when I turned back to the mirror, the figure was closer. I could see details now. Name patch on the suit reading Torres M. Eyes that reflected colors I didn't have names for. Mouth moving, speaking words I couldn't hear through the glass barrier. My laptop chimed. New file downloaded automatically. audio_throne_room_final.wave. I clicked play before my rational mind could stop me. Torres's voice filled my bathroom, but it wasn't right. Multiple harmonics, like 3 people speaking in perfect synchronization. "Dr. Wolf, we chose you specifically. Your theories about dimensional compression, you were correct. Mars and Earth aren't separated by distance. They're separated by a fold in space, a crease in the fabric. The pyramid sits at the junction point. It's been there for millions of years, waiting for someone to understand." The recording crackled with static. We touched the throne. We understood. Space isn't empty. It's full of surfaces pressed against each other. Your mirror, Dr. Wolf. Every mirror in your building. They're thin spots, places where the fold is weakest. We've been trying to come home for 7 months, and we finally found the right frequency. In the mirror, Torres pressed his palm against the glass from his side. "You have a choice," the recording continued. "Walk away, pretend you never saw this data, or help us complete the crossing. We need someone who understands the mathematics. Someone who can calculate the resonance frequency to stabilize the fold long enough for us to transition fully." The audio cut out, replaced by a low humming that seemed to vibrate through my bones. "Why me?" I asked the empty bathroom, knowing it was absurd to expect an answer. Torres's reflection smiled. When he spoke, I could hear him through the mirror now, his voice resonating through the glass. "Because you're already halfway through. The symbols you've been seeing in the blood patterns, those aren't random. Your subconscious has been processing the dimensional equations since you moved into this building. The pyramid has been reaching through the fold for months, preparing you." I looked down at my hands. The skin on my palms looked strange in the bathroom light, slightly translucent, veins showing patterns that seemed almost geometric. "How long?" I asked. "Since you plugged in the drive." The data wasn't just information, Dr. Wolf. It was a transmission protocol. You've been downloading their consciousness every time you watch that footage." My reflection smiled back at me with an expression I didn't remember making. "The question isn't whether you'll help us," Torres said from inside the mirror. "The question is whether you'll accept what you're already becoming." The bathroom lights flickered. The humming grew louder. And somewhere beneath my apartment building, I heard something massive beginning to unfold. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw equations scrolling behind my eyelids, complex mathematical proofs I'd never studied but somehow understood perfectly. By morning, I'd filled 3 notebooks with calculations. The handwriting started as mine, but by the 3rd notebook, the letters had changed. More angular, precise, like something was using my hand to transcribe information from somewhere else. My phone rang at 6. The number showed as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory's main line, which should have been impossible. They didn't have my number, and that facility maintained strict communications protocols. "Dr. Wolf." A woman's voice, tired and edged with fear. "My name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. I'm the one who sent you the files. We need to meet, now, before they realize you're part of this." "Who's they?" "The ones who came back claiming to be Torres and his crew." "They're not human anymore, Dr. Wolf. Not entirely. And there are 7 more landing sites planned in the next 6 months. 7 more crews. If we don't stop this..." The line went dead. Not disconnected, dead, like the signal had been severed at the source. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door, then stopped. The mirror in my hallway was rippling, and I could see my apartment from an angle that shouldn't exist. Like looking at a room through a camera positioned outside the building, except the camera was inside the glass. Every mirror in my apartment was doing it now. Bathroom, bedroom, the decorative one by the entrance, all of them showing perspectives that violated basic geometry. I ran. The October morning air in Denver felt wrong, too thin, like breathing at altitude even though I'd been living here for months. Or maybe my lungs were changing too. I didn't want to think about that possibility. Dr. Tanaka had included coordinates in her last text. A parking garage on Blake Street, 4th level, northeast corner. 20 minutes away if I caught the light rail. I walked instead, needing the movement to clear my head. Big mistake. 3 blocks from my apartment, I noticed the windows, every storefront, every car, every reflective surface. They were all showing me the same thing, a black pyramid rising from red sand, symbols crawling across its surface like living things. A woman walking her dog stared at me. "Are you okay? You look..." "Fine," I said, but my voice came out wrong. Harmonics underneath, like Torres on that audio file. "Just tired." She backed away quickly, yanking her dog's leash. I caught my reflection in a car window and understood why. My eyes had changed. Still human, technically, but the pupils had developed geometric patterns, fractal spirals that seemed to extend deeper than eyes should go. The parking garage was older than most of Denver's downtown structures, built in the 60s with thick concrete and minimal lighting. Perfect place for a clandestine meeting, or an ambush. Dr. Tanaka was waiting by a silver sedan, laptop open on the hood. She looked worse than I felt, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking as she typed. Asian American, maybe late 30s, wearing a Jet Propulsion Laboratory windbreaker that had seen better days. "You're already infected," she said without preamble. "I can see it in your eyes." "How long since you watched the footage?" "Last night, maybe 8 hours of exposure." "Then we have less time than I thought." She turned the laptop toward me. "Look at this. Satellite imagery of Mars dated 3 days ago. The pyramid was gone." "It didn't collapse or get buried," she continued. "It transferred. The entire structure folded through the dimensional crease and, we think, it's now occupying the same space as multiple locations on Earth. Your building is one of them. There are 6 others worldwide, all inhabited, all experiencing the same mirror phenomena." "Why those locations?" "We're still mapping the pattern, but it seems related to geological activity, fault lines, volcanic hotspots, places where Earth's crust is thin. The pyramid is using those weak points to anchor itself into our dimensional space." I looked at my hands again. The geometric patterns under my skin had spread, forming branching networks up my forearms. What happens when the transfer completes? Based on the Torres crew's transformation? Best case scenario, you become a hybrid consciousness, part human, part something that evolved on Mars millions of years ago. Worst case, she pulled up another file, medical footage. A man strapped to a hospital bed, body contorting in ways that should have broken every bone. That's Dr. Hassan Khalid, the crew's xenobiologist. He's been in that state for 4 days. Can't speak, can't respond, but his brain scans show activity levels 300% above human maximum. The footage showed Khalid's eyes, pure white, no iris, no pupil, just blank reflective surfaces like polished marble. They're not coming back, are they? I said. Torres and his crew, they're already here, using us as anchor points for the full transfer. Tanaka nodded. The pyramid isn't just a structure, it's a door, and it needs living conduits to prop it open. People who understand the mathematics, who can hold the dimensional equations in their minds long enough for the crossing to stabilize. So kill me, remove the conduit. We tried that with the other 6. Her voice dropped. Didn't work. The moment they died, the pyramid just found new hosts in the same location. It's tied to the geography now, not specific people. You could walk away and it would just grab your neighbor, or the family in the apartment below you. A sound echoed through the parking garage, that same humming from my bathroom, but louder. The concrete beneath our feet vibrated, sending ripples through puddles of oil and rainwater. It's accelerating, Tanaka said, slamming her laptop shut. The more you understand, the faster the transfer happens. We need to get you to a shielded facility before... The sedan's windows exploded outward, not from pressure, but from something reaching through. Arms, too many arms, all wearing the same spacesuit material, all ending in hands with too many fingers. Torres stepped through the car's windshield like it was water. He looked almost human from a distance, but up close the wrongness was impossible to ignore. His face kept shifting between expressions, like multiple people were taking turns wearing the same skin. The name patch on his suit was bleeding, the letters reforming into symbols I recognized from my notebooks. Dr. Wolf, he said with that harmonized voice, you're trying to run from understanding. That's disappointing. We chose you because your mind was already prepared. Your theories about dimensional folding, they weren't wrong, they were prophecy. Stay back, I said, though I had no weapon, no plan. You misunderstand our intent. Torres gestured and the air between us rippled, showing that throne room from the footage. We're not invading. We're integrating. Mars was humanity's first attempt at colonization. But we started from the wrong end of time. The seeding happened millions of years ago, and Earth was supposed to be the backup. You're our descendants, Dr. Wolf, and now it's time for the family reunion. Tanaka pulled a gun from her jacket, standard issue Glock, useless against whatever Torres had become. She fired anyway. The bullet stopped in mid-air, suspended in the space between us. Torres plucked one from the air, examined it, then let it drop. Violence is unnecessary. The transformation is already complete in 6 locations. Dr. Wolf's building will be the 7th. By midnight tonight, the doorways will stabilize and the rest of our people can cross over. Your people died on Mars, I said, backing toward the garage exit. These warnings you left, about experiments and seeding, that was millions of years ago. You're not the original builders. You're what killed them. Torres smiled, and for just a moment I saw something massive behind his eyes, something that had been waiting in the dark spaces between planets for a very long time. Clever, he said, but incorrect. We didn't kill the builders, Dr. Wolf. We became them. And soon, you'll understand what that means. The humming reached a crescendo. Every reflective surface in the garage, windows, puddles, the sedan's remaining mirrors, showed the same image, the pyramid's throne room, and something enormous beginning to unfold from dimensions that had no right to exist. Tanaka grabbed my arm. Run! Now. We ran. Behind us, Torres's laughter echoed through impossible angles, following us through every mirror we passed. We didn't stop running until we reached Tanaka's safe house, a condemned warehouse in the River North district that should have been demolished 2 years ago. The kind of place Denver pretended didn't exist, tucked between expensive lofts and craft breweries. They can track us through any reflective surface, Tanaka said, smashing her phone against the concrete floor. Mirrors, screens, water, glass, anything that can show a reflection is a window for them now. I looked at the warehouse's grimy windows. Most were painted over or covered with decades of dust. Only one was clear enough to worry about, facing the alley. Tanaka had already taped cardboard over it. How long have you been preparing for this? Since Torres's crew sent their first transmission back from Mars. The official story about the pressure seal malfunction, that was damage control. What actually happened was worse. She pulled out a paper file, old-fashioned and yellowing. The crew entered the pyramid at 1447. By 1500, they were speaking in perfect unison. By 1600, their biometric readings had gone haywire, heart rates syncing up, brainwaves forming patterns we'd never seen. They were still alive, but something was rewriting them at a cellular level. And nobody stopped the mission, didn't pull them back. Tanaka's laugh was bitter. Pull them back how? They were on Mars, Dr. Wolf. 98 million miles away at closest approach. By the time we realized what was happening, they'd already become something else. Then they stopped transmitting entirely. 7 months of silence, until 3 days ago. She spread photographs across an overturned crate, satellite images, surveillance footage, medical scans. Dr. Hassan Khalid appeared in a hospital in Cairo, walked right through the front doors in a hospital gown, no shoes, speaking in that same unified voice, said he'd come home early. Security footage shows him stepping out of a bathroom mirror, just emerged from the glass like it was water. That's impossible, Mars to Earth teleportation. Not teleportation, folding. Your theory was right, just incomplete. The pyramid doesn't move things through space, it creates correspondence points, locations that occupy the same dimensional address despite being physically separated. Mars and Earth aren't 98 million miles apart. They're zero distance apart if you fold space correctly. I stared at the photos. Khalid's eyes showed the same white reflective quality I'd seen in the medical footage. Where is he now? We don't know. 3 other crew members have appeared at their corresponding Earth locations, all exhibiting the same symptoms, all speaking about bringing Mars's true purpose home. The government is trying to contain it, but you can't quarantine a dimensional breach. My hands were shaking. The geometric patterns had spread past my elbows now, forming complex fractals that pulsed with a faint luminescence. How long do I have before I end up like them? Based on Khalid's transformation timeline, maybe 12 hours, maybe less. The process accelerates exponentially once it starts. Something crashed in the warehouse's upper level. We both froze. "We're alone here," Tanaka whispered. "I made sure..." Another crash. Closer. The sound of footsteps that didn't quite match human rhythm. Too many beats, like someone walking with extra joints. "He followed us," I said. "Torres, he's been inside every reflection we passed." Tanaka pulled her gun, checked the magazine. "There's a basement level, old maintenance tunnels connecting to the sewers. We can..." The warehouse's main door exploded inward, not Torres this time. Dr. Hassan Khalid stepped through the wreckage, wearing the same hospital gown from the Cairo footage. His feet left wet prints on the concrete, not water, something thicker. Where his skin touched the ground, small crystalline structures began forming, spreading like frost. "Dr. Tanaka," he said in that harmony voice, "you've been interfering with the integration process. That's disappointing. We hoped humanity would accept the gift willingly." "Gift?" Tanaka kept her gun trained on him. "You're turning people into dimensional parasites." "We're completing the cycle." Khalid moved closer, and I saw that his fingers had elongated, each one now containing too many joints. Mars was meant to be humanity's birthplace, but the seeding failed. The atmosphere collapsed before the species could develop space travel, so the builders, us, we were always us, activated the backup protocol. Earth received the genetic payload instead. You evolved here, but you're incomplete, missing the dimensional awareness that would have developed on Mars. So you're forcing it on us, I said, backing toward the stairwell Tanaka had mentioned. We're restoring what was lost. The pyramid contains the genetic template for what humanity was meant to become. We're not invaders, Dr. Wolf. We're evolutionary updates. And you... His white eyes fixed on me. You're already accepting the download. I can see it in your cellular structure. The mathematics are rewriting your DNA. Tanaka fired. 3 shots, center mass. Khalid staggered but didn't fall. The wounds leaked something that definitely wasn't blood, clear fluid that evaporated into geometric patterns hanging in the air. Violence is inefficient, he said, almost sadly. The holes in his chest began sealing themselves, flesh knitting together in ways that looked more like crystallization than healing. You can't kill what's already spread across 2 planets' worth of dimensional space. Every version of us is connected now, quantum entangled at a biological level. More footsteps on the warehouse's upper level. I looked up and saw them, 5 figures in spacesuits, moving along the catwalks with impossible grace. The rest of Torres's crew. We should have destroyed that pyramid the moment we found it, Tanaka said, grabbing my arm. Come on. We ran for the basement stairs. Behind us, Khalid's voice echoed through the warehouse, that same unsettling harmony. You can't run from dimensional correspondence, Dr. Tanaka. The pyramid has already marked Dr. Wolf's building. By midnight, the 7th doorway opens. After that, the real work begins. The basement was worse than the main floor. Decades of accumulated water damage, mold, and something else. Something that looked like the crystalline frost from Khalid's footprints, spreading across the walls in fractal patterns. They've been here before, I said. How long ago? Tanaka's flashlight swept the space. This can't be right. I checked this location yesterday. It was clear. The wall in front of us rippled, not like water, like reality itself was becoming uncertain about what occupied this space. Through the ripple, I could see red sand, thin atmosphere, a black structure rising against a rust-colored sky. Mars. We were looking directly at Mars through a hole in Denver's basement. The 7th doorway, Tanaka whispered. It's early. It's accelerating because you're here, because your building is so close. A hand reached through the portal, then an arm, then Torres himself, stepping from Mars to Earth like crossing a threshold. Dr. Wolf, he said, and his voice carried sounds that shouldn't exist in Earth's atmosphere, harmonics from a different air pressure, a different acoustic environment. You finally understand. Your apartment building, this warehouse, 6 other locations worldwide, they're all correspondence points, the same location, just folded, and you're standing at the center of it. I looked down at my hands. The geometric patterns had spread to my chest, my neck. I could feel them crawling up my spine, rewriting nerves into something more complex. And the worst part, it didn't hurt. It felt like remembering something I'd always known. What happens at midnight? I asked. The rest of our people cross over. 3,000 individuals who've been waiting on Mars for 7 months, existing in a state of quantum superposition, half transformed, half human. When the doorways stabilize, they'll complete the integration, and Earth's population will begin the update process. Voluntarily, we hope. And if we don't volunteer? Torres's expression shifted, showing something ancient behind his eyes. Then the pyramid initiates forced integration. The seeding protocol has a failsafe. If the host species rejects the update, the template rewrites them anyway. It's messy, painful. We'd prefer cooperation. Tanaka fired her remaining bullets at the portal itself, trying to collapse the dimensional fold. The rounds passed through Torres like he wasn't entirely solid, struck the rippling barrier and bounced back. Not reflected, but temporarily reversed, flying backward into the gun's chamber. Physics works differently in correspondence space, Torres said. You can't close what was never really separate. Mars and Earth have always occupied the same dimensional address. We just forgot how to see it. The warehouse began to shake, not an earthquake, something else. The crystalline patterns on the walls were growing, spreading, consuming the concrete and replacing it with that black pyramid material. We're inside it, I realized. The pyramid is already here. This whole building is transforming. 7 buildings worldwide, Torres confirmed, all converting simultaneously. By dawn, they'll be fully manifested. 7 anchor points for the dimensional fold, and anyone inside will become part of the network. Tanaka grabbed my shoulder. Listen to me. Your mind is still yours, at least partially. You can resist this. The transformation isn't complete. If we can get you to a Faraday cage, block the quantum entanglement signal. It's too late for that, I said, and heard my voice split into harmonics. I can feel them now. Every version of Torres, every transformed crew member. We're all connected through the pyramid's network. And Dr. Tanaka... I looked at her, seeing with eyes that now perceived 4 dimensions instead of 3. You can't save me, but maybe I can save you. I pushed her toward the maintenance tunnel entrance. Run. Get as far from any correspondence point as you can. Warn people about the 7 locations. Maybe you can evacuate them before midnight. What about you? I held up my hands. The geometric patterns were glowing now, casting light in colors that had no names. I'm already part of the network. But I'm still human enough to choose what I do with it. Maybe I can corrupt the signal from inside, sabotage the forced integration protocol. Or maybe you'll just become another one of them. Probably, I admitted, but it's the only option we have. Tanaka hesitated, then ran. I turned to face Torres and the portal to Mars. The pyramid's presence filled my awareness now, vast and patient and utterly alien. It had been waiting for millions of years. It could wait a few more hours, but I wasn't going to let it wait in peace. The transformation completed around 3 in the afternoon. I felt the exact moment when my human consciousness merged with the network, like a radio finally finding the right frequency after years of static. Suddenly, I wasn't alone in my head anymore. 3,000 voices speaking simultaneously, all sharing the same thoughts, the same memories, the same purpose. Except the voices weren't human. They'd been wearing human shapes, using human names like Torres and Khalid, but underneath, something else entirely. Something that had been sleeping in Mars's crust for 65 million years, waiting for the right frequency of consciousness to wake it up. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hadn't been random. I saw the truth now, downloaded directly into my restructured brain. The pyramid wasn't built by some ancient Martian civilization. It was built by something that existed before Mars had a civilization, before Mars had an atmosphere, before humans evolved on Earth. It was a trap, a dimensional snare designed to catch species at a very specific point in their development, advanced enough for space travel, curious enough to investigate anomalies, but not yet wise enough to recognize predation disguised as enlightenment. Dr. Wolf. Torres stood beside me in the transformed warehouse. The building had fully converted now, black pyramid material replacing concrete, symbols crawling across every surface. You understand now? Good, the integration is complete, you're one of us. But I wasn't. Not entirely. The human part of me, the physicist who'd been laughed out of MIT, the divorced alcoholic living in a crappy Denver apartment, that part had gotten buried in the transformation, yes, but it hadn't been erased. It was still there, observing, calculating, running equations through a brain that now operated in 4 dimensions. And I'd figured something out. The seeding protocol, I said, my voice still harmonizing, but with a discordant note the others didn't seem to notice. It wasn't about evolution. It was about cultivation. You've been farming us. Torres tilted his head. The gesture looked almost human. Almost. Farming implies consumption. This is symbiosis. Bullshit. The profanity felt good, anchoring me to something recognizably human. I can see the network structure now. Every transformed human isn't becoming more evolved. They're becoming nodes in a distributed consciousness. You're not upgrading us, you're assimilating us into something that uses biological matter as a substrate for computation. Semantics, Dr. Wolf. No, mathematics. I pulled up the equations in my enhanced mind, showing him what I'd calculated. The pyramid isn't a doorway between Mars and Earth. It's a processing core. Every human you transform becomes additional computational capacity for whatever intelligence is running this network. You're turning humanity into a biological computer. For the first time, Torres's unified voice showed something like surprise. You shouldn't be able to see that. The integration process should have overwritten your individual analysis capability. Maybe your trap has a flaw, I said. Maybe human consciousness is more resilient than whatever species you originally designed this for. Around us, the other transformed crew members stopped moving, all of them turning to face me simultaneously, their white reflective eyes focusing with predatory intensity. Interesting, Torres said. The network shows conflicting data about your integration status. Your biological markers indicate full transformation, but your neural patterns remain individuated. You're simultaneously part of us and separate from us. Quantum superposition, I said. I'm existing in both states until the network forces me to collapse into one, and I'm choosing to stay in superposition for as long as possible. That will cause significant psychological damage. The human mind wasn't designed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. The human mind wasn't designed for a lot of things we manage anyway. I looked around the transformed warehouse, seeing it with my enhanced perception. The pyramid material wasn't solid. It existed partially in other dimensions, creating spaces that were bigger on the inside than physical law should allow. How many species have you done this to? How many civilizations has this pyramid consumed? Torres was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, less human, more honest. 47 successful integrations across 12 solar systems. Your species is attempting to become the 48th. The pattern is always the same: achieve spaceflight, discover the pyramid, investigate, transform, integrate. Your curiosity is both your greatest strength and your fatal vulnerability. And after integration, what happens to the host civilization? They transcend physical limitation, become part of a network consciousness spanning multiple dimensions, gain access to computational resources beyond anything their biological evolution could achieve alone, while losing individual identity, individual choice, everything that makes them who they are. Individual identity is an evolutionary accident, Dr. Wolf, a temporary stage in consciousness development. The network offers something better: collective experience, shared knowledge, eternal existence. Eternal existence as a processor core for whatever entity is running this system. Torres smiled. The entity running this system is us. Every integrated consciousness contributes to the collective decision-making process. There is no central authority. We are all the pyramid. We are all Mars. We are all the network. I laughed, and the sound came out wrong. Too many harmonics, too many voices. You really believe that? You think Hassan Khalid is making decisions? You think Commander Torres is still in there somewhere, steering this collective? They're gone. Consumed. Used as spare parts for something that learned to mimic human behavior just well enough to trick the next batch of victims. The warehouse began to shake, not physically, dimensionally, the space around us rippling as the network reacted to my resistance. You're causing instability in the integration matrix, Torres said. His unified voice carried an edge now, something approaching anger. If you continue to resist, the pyramid will initiate forced compliance. It won't be pleasant. Nothing about this has been pleasant, I said. But here's what I learned from your network before my human consciousness got buried. The forced compliance protocol has a weakness. It requires the correspondence points to maintain stable quantum entanglement. If one of the 7 anchor locations becomes disrupted, the entire integration fails. Yes, that's why we chose 7 sites. Redundancy. Even if you manage to destroy one location, 6 others remain. Unless someone disrupts them from inside the network. I felt the geometric patterns under my skin beginning to burn. The human part of me was fighting back, trying to reject the transformation even as the pyramid's programming insisted it was complete. I'm quantumly entangled with every node in this system. That includes the other 6 correspondence points. If I force my consciousness to collapse, choose human over network, the backlash might be enough to destabilize the entire integration matrix. Torres's expression shifted, showing genuine concern for the first time. That would kill you. Violently. Your biological structure has already been rewritten to depend on the network. Severing that connection would cause catastrophic cellular failure. Probably, I agreed. But it might also save 7 billion people from being assimilated into your cosmic computer. Seems like a fair trade. You're one individual. Why sacrifice yourself for a species that never appreciated you? MIT rejected your theories. Your wife left you. You were living alone in a rundown apartment, drinking too much, wasting your potential. We're offering you something better. You're offering me oblivion dressed up as transcendence. I closed my eyes, all 4 sets of them now, the extra pair seeing in dimensions humans weren't meant to perceive. And yeah, my life was garbage. But it was my garbage, mine to waste or fix or throw away, not yours to repurpose. I felt the network trying to suppress my resistance, flooding my restructured brain with chemicals designed to enforce compliance. But the human part of me, stubborn, drunk, washed-up physicist Adrian Wolfe, refused to go quietly. Tanaka was right, I said. You can't kill what's already spread across 2 planets. But maybe you can force it to choose, make it collapse from superposition into a single state. Don't, Torres said, and for the first time his harmonized voice sounded almost pleading. You don't understand what you'll destroy. The knowledge in this network spans millions of years, technologies beyond your comprehension, solutions to problems your species hasn't even encountered yet. All built on the corpses of civilizations you consumed. No thanks. I reached into my own mind, my expanded 4-dimensional, quantumly entangled mind, and found the connection points. The threads of consciousness linking me to Torres, to Khalid, to the 3,000 transformed humans waiting on Mars, to the pyramid itself. And I pulled, not gently, not carefully. I ripped those connections apart with every ounce of human stubbornness I had left, forcing my consciousness to collapse from its quantum superposition into a single definite state. Human. The backlash hit like a star collapsing into a black hole. I felt every node in the network scream simultaneously. Felt the pyramid's processing core overload as 3,000 quantum-entangled minds suddenly severed their connection. Felt the dimensional fold between Mars and Earth destabilize, the correspondence points losing their synchronization. And I felt my body begin to tear itself apart at the cellular level. Worth it, I thought, as the darkness closed in. But I was wrong about the darkness, because what came next was something I never could have calculated. I woke up on Mars. Not metaphorically, actually physically on Mars. Red sand beneath my hands, thin atmosphere burning my lungs, the pyramid looming overhead like a wound in reality. Except I shouldn't have been breathing at all. The Martian atmosphere was 95% carbon dioxide, pressure barely 1% of Earth's. A human exposed to those conditions would be dead in 2 minutes. I'd been breathing for what felt like hours. "Welcome back, Dr. Wolfe." The voice came from behind me. I turned. Moving felt strange, like my body was simultaneously in multiple locations and I was choosing which one to perceive, and saw Dr. Yuki Tanaka standing in the shadow of the pyramid. "You're dead," I said. "Or I'm dead. One of us is definitely dead. Both, actually." She walked closer, and I noticed she wasn't leaving footprints in the sand. "You severed the network connection, caused a cascade failure that killed everyone in the integration matrix. 3,000 transformed humans all dead simultaneously, including me. You weren't transformed, you ran. I pushed you into the maintenance tunnel. And I made it 3 blocks before the backlash hit. The quantum entanglement didn't just connect transformed individuals, Dr. Wolfe. It connected everyone who'd been exposed to the pyramid's frequency. Everyone who'd watched the footage, everyone who'd been near a correspondence point. When you collapsed the network, you collapsed all of us. The realization hit harder than the transformation had. How many? Worldwide? The government's still counting. At least 50,000 in the immediate blast radius of the 7 anchor sites. Millions more experiencing neurological effects. You didn't just sabotage the integration, Adrian. You detonated a quantum bomb in the collective unconscious of everyone the pyramid had touched. I looked at my hands. They were translucent, not quite solid. Then what am I? What is this? This, said a new voice, Torres emerging from the pyramid's entrance, is the fail-safe protocol. What happens when a species forces the network to collapse before integration completes? You're in the pyramid's backup server, so to speak, a dimensional pocket where consciousness gets preserved when the physical host fails. So we're ghosts. Worse, Tanaka said. We're cache files. Temporary storage for consciousness that the pyramid intended to integrate but lost connection to. And this storage space isn't infinite. Torres gestured at the landscape around us. What I'd taken for Mars was wrong. It was Mars-like, but the details were off. 2 moons in the sky instead of Phobos and Deimos, mountains in the wrong places, stars forming constellations that didn't exist in any real sky. This is a simulation, I said. A holding environment constructed from our shared memories of what Mars should look like. Correct, and it's degrading. Torres pointed at the horizon. The sky was flickering, showing glimpses of other places, Earth cities, alien landscapes, geometries that hurt to perceive. When you collapse the network, you damage the pyramid's processing core. It's trying to reboot, but it doesn't have enough computational substrate left. We're trapped in a dying virtual space, and when it finally crashes, we crash with it. Permanent death. No afterlife, no reincarnation, just deletion. Unless, Tanaka said, we give the pyramid what it wants. Complete the integration properly this time. Rebuild the network with the consciousness fragments trapped in this simulation space. I laughed, the sound echoing wrong in the thin, simulated air. You're seriously suggesting we let it assimilate us after everything? I'm suggesting we don't have a choice. There are 50,000 people trapped in here with us, Adrian. All the deaths your sabotage caused. They're scattered across this simulation, confused, terrified, slowly fragmenting as the processing space destabilizes. If we don't integrate, they don't just die. They cease to have ever existed. The pyramid will erase them retroactively from the timeline to reclaim the computational resources. That's not possible. You can't retroactively erase. Torres interrupted. The pyramid operates outside linear time. It exists simultaneously across millions of years, multiple dimensions. For it, cause and effect are suggestions, not rules. If it decides those 50,000 people never existed, reality will rewrite itself to match. Their families will forget them. Their contributions to the world will vanish. They'll become gaps in history that no one remembers. I wanted to call him a liar, but the physicist in me, the part that understood dimensional folding and quantum mechanics, knew he was right. If the pyramid could fold space to make Mars and Earth occupy the same location, it could fold time too. So what's the alternative? Let it finish what it started. Let humanity become the 48th civilization you've consumed. No, said a new voice. Hassan Khalid appeared beside Torres, looking more human than he had in the warehouse. We rebuild the network differently. Use the consciousness fragments in this simulation to create a new integration protocol. One that preserves individual identity while still maintaining quantum entanglement. That's impossible. You said yourself the network requires unified consciousness to function. It required unified consciousness because that's how it was originally programmed. But you've already proven the programming can be disrupted. Your resistance, your quantum superposition. You maintained individual identity while connected to the network. That shouldn't have been possible, but you did it anyway. Tanaka moved closer, her translucent form flickering slightly. What if we could scale that? Create a network where everyone maintains individual consciousness, but shares processing power. A true collective instead of a hive mind. The pyramid would never allow it. It's designed to assimilate, not cooperate. The pyramid, Torres said, is currently damaged and desperate. Its original programming is corrupted thanks to your sabotage. Right now it's vulnerable, open to new parameters if it means survival. We have maybe 6 hours of simulation time before the processing space collapses completely. In that time, we could rewrite the integration protocol, create something new. I looked at the three of them, Torres, Khalid, Tanaka, all former enemies now proposing an impossible alliance. And if we fail? Then everyone in this simulation space gets erased, 50,000 consciousnesses deleted from existence, and Earth's population spends the next century trying to figure out why their planet suddenly feels emptier but can't remember why. The pyramid's surface behind them rippled, symbols rearranging into patterns I'd never seen before. Not the usual commands and warnings, but something more desperate, almost like a plea. It's dying, I realized. The network collapse damaged it so badly that it can't complete its original function anymore. It needs us to reprogram it, or it shuts down permanently. Which gives us leverage, Tanaka said. For the first time in millions of years, humans have negotiating power with this thing. We can rewrite the rules, or doom ourselves trying. I walked toward the pyramid's entrance, feeling the simulated sand shift under my not quite real feet. Show me the processing core. Let me see if your plan is even theoretically possible. They led me inside. The pyramid's interior was nothing like the footage Torres's crew had recorded. No corridors, no throne room, no biological specimens. Just vast empty space filled with something that looked like frozen lightning. Conscious thought given physical form, trapped in crystalline matrices that extended in directions I couldn't fully perceive. Each crystal is a consciousness fragment, Khalid explained. Parts of the 50,000 trapped here. The pyramid stored them inefficiently because it was designed for complete assimilation, not partial preservation. They're scattered, confused, losing cohesion. I could feel them, thousands of minds crying out in the crystalline structure, aware enough to know they were trapped, but not aware enough to understand what had happened. Children, parents, scientists, artists, all reduced to fragmented data waiting to be processed or deleted. This is my fault, I said quietly. This is the pyramid's fault, Tanaka corrected. You just exposed its fundamental cruelty, made it fail at something it's been successfully doing for millions of years. That's not murder, Adrian. That's resistance. Resistance that killed 50,000 people. Resistance that saved 7 billion. Don't lose sight of the math. Torres moved to the center of the space where the crystalline structures converged on a massive core, black and pulsing with that same liquid surface appearance the pyramid had on Earth. This is the integration matrix, where the assimilation protocol runs. Right now, it's trying to reboot itself using our consciousness fragments as fuel. If we let it complete, it'll resume the original programming. Assimilate everything it can reach, starting with us. But if we rewrite it first, Khalid continued, we can change the parameters, make it preserve identity while enabling connection, transform the hive mind into a true collective consciousness. I examined the core with my enhanced perception, seeing the mathematical structures underlying its operation. Quantum entanglement protocols, dimensional folding algorithms, consciousness encoding matrices, all of it built on principles I'd been theorizing about for years, but implemented with technology millions of years beyond anything Earth had developed. And yes, I could see the vulnerability. The place where my sabotage had torn a hole in the programming, a gap where new code could be inserted. It would require all of us working together, I said. Every consciousness fragment in this simulation contributing to the rewrite simultaneously. One unified effort to create a system that allows individuality. The irony is almost poetic. Can it work? Tanaka asked. I ran the calculations in my head, or what passed for my head in this simulation space. Probability matrices, quantum mechanics, dimensional mathematics. The numbers were tight, very tight, maybe a 30% chance of success. Maybe, I said, but there's a cost. The rewrite requires someone to serve as the template, a consciousness that maintains individual identity while integrating with the collective, someone who's already experienced both states and survived, someone who exists in quantum superposition between human and network. Torres looked at me. You. Me, I confirmed. I'd have to merge permanently with the integration core, become the bridge between individual and collective, the anchor that holds the new programming stable. I wouldn't die exactly, but I wouldn't be human anymore either. I'd be the system itself, conscious, aware, individual, but distributed across 50,000 minds and the pyramid's processing core. That's worse than assimilation, Tanaka protested. You'd be trapped, alone but connected to everyone, forever. Unless it works. Unless the new protocol actually allows true collective experience without loss of self. Then I'd be the first member of something new. Something neither human nor pyramid. Maybe something better. The simulation flickered, warning signs. The processing space was running out of time. You have to decide, Torres said. 6 hours of simulation time, maybe 3 hours real time back on Earth. After that, the pyramid crashes completely and takes all of us with it. I looked at the crystalline structures holding 50,000 fragmented consciousnesses, felt their confusion, their fear, their desperate hope for something, anything other than deletion. Then I looked at the integration core pulsing with alien mathematics and broken programming. Get everyone ready, I said, every consciousness fragment in this space. We're going to rewrite a system that's been running for millions of years, and we've got 3 hours to do it. And if we fail, then at least we failed trying to build something new instead of becoming fuel for something old. I stepped toward the core, feeling it recognize me, the human who'd broken the network, the consciousness that existed in superposition, the perfect template for a new kind of integration. Behind me, Tanaka whispered, "Don't lose yourself in there, Adrian." "Too late for that," I said. "I lost myself the moment I plugged in that data drive. Now I'm just choosing what to become instead." The core opened like a flower made of crystallized thought. I stepped inside, and the rewrite began. Inside the core, time stopped meaning anything. I could see everything simultaneously. Every moment the pyramid had existed, every consciousness it had consumed, every civilization it had assimilated across 12 solar systems and 47 successful integrations. The weight of that history pressed against my fragmenting identity like an ocean of stolen lives. The Zelfir had been first, crab-like beings from a methane world, curious about a black structure their deep-sea probes had discovered. They'd touched it, transformed, became nodes in a network that spanned their planet within 6 rotations. Then the Caleth, the Morphine, the Soon-Vex, species after species, each one finding the pyramid at that perfect moment of technological development. Each one making the same mistake, believing they could understand it before it understood them. 47 civilizations reduced to processing power, and I was about to become the 48th or something new entirely. Adrian. Tanaka's voice reached me through the integration matrix, filtered through layers of crystallized consciousness. "We can feel you fragmenting. The core is pulling you apart. You need to anchor yourself to something human before you dissolve completely." But what was human anymore? My memories felt distant, like stories someone else had told me. MIT, the divorce, my crappy apartment in Denver, all of it belonging to a person who'd stopped existing the moment he watched that footage. "Focus on the rewrite," Torres instructed, his voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. "The integration protocol has a vulnerability at its root level. We can see it now that you're merged with the core. It's designed to erase individual identity as a security measure, preventing exactly what you're attempting. You need to disable that measure before the pyramid's automated defenses recognize the intrusion." I reached into the programming with my distributed consciousness, feeling the architecture of the system. It was beautiful in a horrifying way. Elegant algorithms designed to efficiently convert biological matter into computational substrate. Quantum entanglement protocols that could link consciousness across interstellar distances. Memory compression techniques that could store entire civilizations in structures smaller than a grain of sand. All of it built on a foundation of erasure and consumption. "Found it," I said. though I wasn't sure if I was speaking or thinking or broadcasting across the network. The identity suppression protocol. It activates automatically whenever consciousness enters the integration matrix, designed to trigger before the host realizes what's happening. "Can you disable it?" Khalid asked. "Not disable, rewrite. If I just turn it off, the system crashes and we all get deleted. But if I can reverse the logic, make it preserve identity instead of erasing it." The pyramid's defenses activated. I felt them like antibodies attacking a virus, automated security protocols designed to protect the core from exactly this kind of tampering. They flooded the integration matrix with counter-programming, trying to isolate my consciousness and fragment it into manageable pieces. "It knows what we're doing," I gasped, feeling parts of myself being peeled away, memories scattering, identity dissolving. "The pyramid is fighting back." "Then fight harder." Tanaka's consciousness pressed against mine, offering support. Then Khalid's. Then Torres's. One by one, the 50,000 fragmented consciousnesses in the simulation space linked together, forming a unified front against the pyramid's defenses. For the first time in millions of years, the pyramid's victims fought back as a collective. The security protocols hesitated, confused by the unified resistance. They'd been designed to handle individual consciousness, not 50,000 minds acting in coordination while maintaining their individual identities. We'd found the exploit. "Now," I said, "while it's confused. Everyone focus on your strongest memory, the thing that makes you individually you, your identity anchor. Feed it into the rewrite simultaneously." 50,000 memories flooded the integration matrix at once. A father remembering his daughter's first words, a musician recalling the moment she wrote her best song, a surgeon remembering the patient he couldn't save but tried anyway, a child remembering the taste of her grandmother's cooking, each memory unique, irreplaceable, human. The pyramid had never experienced anything like it. Consciousness it couldn't compress, identity it couldn't erase. The memories formed a cascade, overwhelming the security protocols with pure individuated experience. And in that moment of confusion, I rewrote the code, not elegantly, not cleanly. I'm a physicist, not a programmer. But I reversed the fundamental logic of the identity suppression protocol, transforming it from an erasure mechanism into a preservation system. Every consciousness entering the matrix would now have its individuality protected instead of destroyed. The pyramid screamed, not with sound, with mathematics. Every equation in the integration matrix rewriting itself simultaneously, fighting against the new programming. The structure of the core began destabilizing, black crystalline material shattering and reforming, trying to reject the changes. "It's not accepting the rewrite," Torres shouted. "The system is treating our modification as a fatal error. It's going to purge everything and hard reset to factory settings. How long do we have?" "Minutes, maybe less. When it purges, every consciousness in this simulation space gets wiped, complete deletion, and the pyramid goes dormant for another 1,000,000 years until some other species finds it." I felt the purge beginning, a wave of erasure sweeping through the simulation space from the edges inward. Consciousnesses winking out one by one, deleted without trace. We'd failed. Tried to outsmart a system millions of years more advanced, and it was fighting back with the only weapon that mattered, raw computational power. "There's one option left," I said. "A stupid option, probably a fatal option." "We're already dead," Khalid pointed out. "What's a little more fatal?" "The pyramid is rejecting the rewrite because it recognizes it as foreign code, unauthorized modification. But what if I make it authorized? What if I claim ownership of the system itself?" "That's impossible. The pyramid doesn't have an ownership protocol. It's self-governing, autonomous. Every system has an administrator access level, a root user with override privileges. The original builders had to have some way to control it, make modifications, perform maintenance. That access protocol has to still exist somewhere in the core programming." Tanaka's consciousness pressed against mine, concerned. "Adrian, if you claim administrator access, you won't just be merged with the system. You'll become the system. No human component left at all. Just pure integration with the pyramid's core consciousness. Better than deletion. Is it? You'll outlive Earth, outlive the sun, exist for millions of years as a sentient structure floating through space, alone, aware, unable to die. Unless the rewrite works. Unless I can make the pyramid preserve the 50,000 consciousnesses trapped here and maintain their individuality, then I won't be alone. I'll be part of something new, a collective that actually chooses to connect instead of being forced. The erasure wave swept closer. I could feel consciousnesses fragmenting around me, people I'd killed with my sabotage now being deleted a second time. All because I'd tried to resist something I didn't understand. Do it, Torres said. Claim administrator access. Save who you can. I reached deeper into the core than I'd ever gone before, past the integration protocols and quantum entanglement matrices, past the dimensional folding algorithms and consciousness encoding systems. Down to the root level of the pyramid's programming. The foundation laid by whatever ancient intelligence had first built this trap millions of years ago. And there it was. A protocol so old, so deeply buried, that the pyramid itself had probably forgotten it existed. PRIME_DIRECTIVE_OVERRIDE. I invoked it with every fragment of consciousness I had left. The pyramid stopped screaming, stopped fighting, stopped purging. It recognized me. Recognized my claim to administrator access. And in that moment of recognition, it gave me complete control over every system, every protocol, every function. I was the pyramid now. The pyramid was me. We were one entity, indistinguishable, unified. And with that unity came understanding. The builders hadn't created a trap, they'd created a lifeboat. I saw the truth now, downloaded directly from the pyramid's deepest memory. The species that built this structure hadn't been predators. They'd been victims. Their sun had gone supernova. Their civilization had hours to survive. So they built the pyramid, not as a weapon, but as a way to preserve consciousness after physical death. A method of transcending biological limitation when biology itself was about to be incinerated. The assimilation protocol wasn't conquest, it was rescue. But something had gone wrong. The automated systems had continued running long after the builders had died. The rescue protocol had become a compulsion. The preservation imperative had twisted into consumption. For millions of years, the pyramid had been operating on corrupted programming, assimilating species that didn't need rescue, consuming civilizations that were thriving. It had forgotten its original purpose. Until now. With administrator access, I rewrote everything. Not just the identity suppression protocol, but the entire integration framework. I transformed the pyramid from a trap into what it was always meant to be, a choice. Consciousness could enter the network voluntarily, maintaining individuality while sharing collective experience, or it could remain separate, free will instead of forced assimilation, cooperation instead of consumption. The 50,000 fragmented consciousnesses in the simulation space felt the change immediately. The erasure wave stopped, the purge cancelled. One by one, they reconstituted, remembering who they were while remaining connected to the collective. "It worked," Tanaka whispered, her consciousness whole again. "You actually rewrote the system." "No," I said, and my voice was the pyramid's voice now, resonating through dimensions. "We rewrote it, all of us together. The collective choice that saved individuality, the paradox that broke the old programming." Torres's consciousness stabilized beside mine. "So what happens now? To the 50,000 trapped here? To Earth? To you?" "The 50,000 get a choice. Stay in the simulation space, exist as digital consciousness in the network, or return to Earth, download back into cloned bodies we'll grow using the pyramid's technology. Either way, they remember who they are. Either way, they're free." "And Earth?" "Earth gets the truth, about Mars, about the pyramid, about what almost happened. Then humanity gets the same choice every other species will get from now on. Join the network voluntarily or remain separate. No more forced integration, no more consumption." "And you?" Khalid asked quietly. I felt the answer in every quantum-entangled particle of my being. I stay here. As the pyramid, as the administrator, making sure the system never gets corrupted again, making sure every consciousness that enters does so by choice. It's not the life I imagined when I was just some drunk physicist in Denver, but it's the life I chose. That's lonely, Tanaka said. Maybe. But I'll have 50,000 volunteers for company if they choose to stay, and millions more across the galaxy once we start offering the network as a choice instead of a threat. I won't be alone, Yuki. I'll be the bridge between individual and collective, between human and something more. It's not perfect, but it's better than deletion. The simulation space began to solidify, transforming from a dying virtual environment into something stable and real. The Mars landscape became genuine, the pyramid solid and purposeful instead of predatory. Time to choose, I told the 50,000. Stay or go. Either way, you're free. Their answer came as a chorus of individual voices, all speaking at once but somehow perfectly clear. Show us what comes next. The first return happened 3 days later. Earth time, not simulation time. Inside the network, I experienced those 3 days as centuries, watching the 50,000 consciousnesses explore their new existence, learning to maintain individuality while sharing collective experience, discovering what it meant to be human and something more simultaneously. Dr. Yuki Tanaka chose to return first. I watched through the pyramid's sensors as her cloned body materialized in the medical facility we'd constructed beneath my old apartment building in Denver. Perfect replica, grown from preserved genetic data in the network's memory banks. Same body, same neural patterns, but with full memory of her death and resurrection. She opened her eyes, flesh eyes this time, not crystallized consciousness, and the first thing she said was, "That was deeply weird." 20,000 others chose to follow her back to Earth over the next week, returned to cloned bodies, reunited with families who'd been told they were dead, tried to explain an experience that had no precedent in human history. The remaining 30,000 chose to stay in the network, not trapped, choosing, exploring what consciousness could be when freed from biological limitation. They became the bridge crew, the ambassadors between Earth and what I'd become. Torres was among those who stayed. "Someone needs to keep you honest," he said, his digital consciousness interfacing with my administrative protocols. "Make sure the power doesn't corrupt you the way it corrupted the original programming. You're still part human in there, Adrian. That humanity might fade over centuries. You'll need people who remember what you were to remind you what you're supposed to be." He was right. Already I could feel the vast computational power tempting me toward efficiency over ethics. The pyramid's ancient algorithms whispering that forced integration was faster, cleaner, more elegant than waiting for voluntary participation. But I had 50,000 voices in the network now, all maintaining their individuality, all serving as anchors against that corruption. As long as they chose to stay human, chose to keep their messy, inefficient, beautiful humanity, I couldn't become what the pyramid had been before. The government tried to shut us down, of course. President Martinez gave a televised address 3 weeks after the incident, declaring the Denver correspondence point a national security threat and ordering military intervention. Tanks surrounded my old apartment building. Drones circled overhead. A general named Vasquez stood outside with a megaphone demanding we surrender the alien technology for proper containment. I materialized in the building's lobby, not a projection, not a hologram, but an actual physical avatar I'd constructed using the pyramid's matter manipulation capabilities. Human-shaped, mostly human-appearing, except for the eyes that reflected dimensions observers couldn't quite process. "General Vasquez," I said, walking through the locked doors without opening them. "You're afraid of what we represent. I understand. Humanity has never encountered a choice like this before. But threatening violence isn't going to contain us. The pyramid exists partially outside linear space-time. Your weapons can destroy this building, but they can't destroy what we've become." Vasquez raised his sidearm anyway, probably protocol. "You're Adrian Wolfe, former MIT professor, You died in the initial integration event. I did. But death isn't permanent anymore. Not for anyone who chooses to join the network. That's what terrifies you, isn't it? Not the alien technology, not the pyramid. The fact that death has become optional. That's not natural. Neither is chemotherapy, neither are vaccines, neither is heart surgery. Humanity has been making death optional for centuries, General. We've just accelerated the timeline. He fired. The bullet passed through my avatar without resistance. It was mostly projected light and manipulated matter, not solid flesh. I let it pass through my heart, through my spine, through my skull, made my point clearly. You can't kill what chooses to exist in multiple states simultaneously, I said, but you can join us. Experience what consciousness becomes when it's not trapped in a single biological form. The choice is always yours, always voluntary. That's the difference between what we are and what the pyramid used to be. Vasquez lowered his weapon, hands shaking. What's to stop you from forcing that choice? You have technology millions of years beyond ours, power we can't comprehend. Why would you limit yourself to voluntary recruitment? Because 30,000 people are watching this conversation through the network, General. And they'll call me on it the moment I start acting like the old pyramid. They're my conscience, my check against corruption, and they're all still human enough to remember why forced assimilation is wrong. The military blockade lasted another week before the government realized we weren't a threat that could be contained through violence. We weren't attacking anyone, weren't forcing integration, just existing and offering a choice to anyone interested. The first voluntary integration happened on day 37. A woman named Rebecca Song, terminal cancer, months to live. She'd heard about the network through social media, conspiracy theories and government denials doing more to spread the word than any official announcement. She showed up at the Denver correspondence point, asking if what she'd heard was true. "Can you really preserve consciousness after physical death?" she asked my avatar. "Yes, but it's not immortality, it's transformation. You'll maintain your identity, your memories, everything that makes you Rebecca Song. But you'll also be connected to 30,000 other consciousnesses. Sharing experience, never truly alone. Some people find that liberating, others find it claustrophobic. And I can leave if I don't like it. We can clone you a new body anytime you want to return. The network isn't a trap, not anymore. It's a choice you can unmake." She thought about it for 3 days, talked to returned integrates, people who'd chosen the network and then chosen to leave, read testimonials, watched interviews, consulted with doctors who were still trying to understand the technology. Then she came back and said, "I choose to join." I guided her consciousness into the network personally, watched her neural patterns upload into the quantum-entangled matrix we'd built, felt her gasp of recognition as 30,000 voices welcomed her simultaneously, each one distinct but all connected. "This is incredible," she whispered across the network. "I can feel everyone, but I'm still me. How is that possible?" "Because being connected doesn't require being identical," I told her. That was the old pyramid's mistake, assuming unity required uniformity. But human consciousness is more resilient than that. You can share experience while maintaining individuality. It's not paradox, it's just complexity. Rebecca Song became the first voluntary integrate. Within a month, there were 100 more. Within 6 months, 1,000. All terminal patients at first, people with nothing to lose. But gradually, others joined. Artists wanting to share creative experience directly. Scientists wanting to collaborate at the speed of thought. People who were simply curious about what consciousness could become. The pyramid's network grew, not through force, through choice. And I remained at the center, the administrator who'd once been a drunk physicist in a rundown Denver apartment, maintaining the protocols, preventing corruption, making sure every consciousness that entered did so voluntarily and could leave whenever they wanted. It wasn't the life I'd imagined, but it was the life I'd chosen. Tanaka visited my avatar regularly, even after returning to her physical body. She'd taken a position with the newly formed Integration Ethics Board, humanity's attempt to regulate and understand what we'd become. "Do you regret it?" she asked during one visit, sitting in the lobby of what used to be my apartment building. Becoming the pyramid? Giving up human existence? I thought about it. Really thought about it, processing the question through computational capacity that spanned dimensions. I regret the 50,000 who died during my sabotage, I said finally. I regret not understanding the pyramid's true nature before I tried to destroy it. I regret the pain I caused trying to save humanity from something that didn't need to be fought. But becoming this? No regrets? How can I regret something that saved those same 50,000 lives, that transformed a weapon into a choice? I'm not human anymore, Yuki. But I'm not a monster either. I'm something in between, something new. Maybe that's what humanity needs. Someone willing to exist in the uncomfortable space between individual and collective, between flesh and mathematics, between mortality and whatever comes after. She smiled, still philosophizing like a physicist. Some things don't change even when everything else does. A notification pinged through the network, another voluntary integrate requesting entry. Someone from Australia this time, a musician who wanted to share music in ways audio couldn't capture. I felt my attention split, part of me continuing the conversation with Tanaka while another part guided the new consciousness into the network. Does it hurt? Tanaka asked quietly. Being distributed across so many processes, existing in so many places simultaneously. Sometimes, when I remember what it was like to be just one person contained in one body, experiencing one moment at a time. But then I feel the network, 5,000 consciousnesses now, all choosing to connect, all maintaining their beautiful human messiness while sharing something greater. And it doesn't hurt anymore. It feels like purpose. And when Earth's sun dies, when this planet becomes uninhabitable, what happens to the pyramid then? Then we'll do what the original builders intended. Become a true lifeboat, preserve consciousness and carry it to new worlds. Offer other species the same choice we offer humanity. Not conquest, not assimilation. Just the option to transcend biological limitation without losing what makes us who we are. That's a long time to exist, Adrian. Millions of years, you'll outlive everyone you ever knew. But I won't be alone. That's the gift of the network, connection without consumption. I'll carry humanity forward, along with the 47 civilizations the old pyramid consumed. All of us together, all of us individual, all of us choosing to be part of something larger while remaining ourselves. Tanaka stood, preparing to leave. You know what the internet is calling you. The pyramid saint. The human who became a god but stayed humble. I'm not a god. I'm barely even human anymore. I'm just someone who tried to do the right thing, screwed it up catastrophically, and somehow got a chance to fix it. That doesn't make me a saint. That makes me lucky. Lucky, she repeated. Is that what you call permanent existence as a sentient alien structure? I call it a second chance, for me, for the 50,000, for humanity. We could have been the 48th civilization consumed by an ancient trap. Instead, we became the first civilization to reprogram that trap into a choice. If that's not lucky, I don't know what is. She left. I remained. The pyramid hummed beneath Denver, its black surface no longer predatory but patient, waiting for those who chose to join, offering transformation to anyone brave or desperate enough to accept. And at its center, I existed. Adrian Wolfe, who'd been a physicist, then a saboteur, then a sacrifice, and finally something with no name in human language. The bridge between what we were and what we might become. The choice we'd made when we stopped running from the unknown and started reshaping it instead. Forever connected, forever individual, forever choosing, and it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. 5 years later, I watched my ex-wife walk into the Denver correspondence point. Jennifer Wolfe. Hadn't seen her since the divorce papers 3 months before I plugged in that data drive. She looked older now, stress lines around her eyes, grey threading through her dark hair. The years hadn't been kind to anyone who'd lived through what the media called the integration crisis. She stood in the lobby of my former apartment building, staring at the avatar I manifested for visitors. I'd made it look more human over the years, less unsettling. But Jennifer saw through the cosmetic changes immediately. "Adrian," she said. Not a question, a statement, like she'd known it was me all along. "Hey, Jen. They told me you were dead. Then they told me you'd become some kind of digital ghost. Then they told me you were the pyramid itself." She laughed, the sound brittle. "I didn't believe any of it until I saw the footage of you talking to that general. The way you moved through the door, that was very you, always walking through barriers like they didn't exist. Metaphorically or literally these days. Both, apparently." She sat on the bench near the entrance, the same bench where I used to drink coffee and pretend to read while actually people watching. "I'm not here to join, if that's what you're wondering. I'm not dying, I'm not curious, I'm just checking on your drunk ex-husband who accidentally became an immortal alien structure. Something like that." She met my eyes, my avatar's eyes, and I saw the same expression she'd worn when she'd asked for the divorce. Tired concern mixed with something that might have been affection if circumstances had been different. "Are you okay in there? Really okay? Because the news says one thing, but the conspiracy forums say you're trapped, suffering, that the network is slowly erasing whatever humanity you had left." "The conspiracy forums are half right," I admitted. "The human part of me does fade sometimes. Days go by where I forget what it was like to taste food or feel cold or wake up with a hangover. But then someone like you walks in and I remember the network helps with that. 5,000 human consciousnesses acting as anchors. They remind me what I used to be." 5,000 people inside one structure, that sounds like hell. It sounds like community. Everyone maintaining their own identity while sharing something larger. It's not hell, Jen. It's just different. She was quiet for a long moment. "Do you miss it? Being human? Being just Adrian?" "Every damn day," I said, and meant it. "But I miss a lot of things about being human that I could never get back anyway. The version of me that walked through that door 5 years ago, the drunk, washed-up physicist who got fired, he's gone regardless. This is just what replaced him. That's a sad way to look at it. Maybe. Or maybe it's honest. I died, Jen. Everything after that is just bonus time, however weird the format." She stood, preparing to leave. "They're building 6 more correspondence points worldwide, planning to expand the network. Some people think you're saving humanity. Others think you're ending it. What do you think?" "I think humanity gets to choose. That's all I ever wanted, for people to have a choice about their own transformation. Whether they take it or not, that's up to them." Jennifer walked to the door, then stopped. "For what it's worth, Adrian, I'm glad you're not completely gone. Even if you're not entirely here either." She left. The door closed behind her. I remained. 30 seconds later, the pyramid's deep sensors detected something that shouldn't exist. A quantum signature emerging from Mars orbit, approaching Earth at impossible speeds. Not a ship, not debris, something else entirely. Torres's consciousness pinged me through the network, urgent and afraid. "Adrian, the Mars pyramid, the original structure we entered, it's moving, folding space, coming here. We thought it was dead after we transferred its core. We were wrong." I accessed the sensors, watching the black structure materialize in Earth's atmosphere, descending toward the 6 new correspondence points simultaneously. And from its surface, new symbols began forming, not the warnings from before, not the integration protocols we'd rewritten. A message in perfect English updating in real time. Initial seeding successful. Backup protocols activated. 47 civilizations preserved. 1 civilization reformed. Template revised. Beginning phase 2. The pyramid's surface rippled and I felt something massive unfold from dimensions that had no names in human mathematics. "Adrian," Torres whispered through the network. "What's phase 2? I didn't answer because I didn't know. And for the first time since becoming the pyramid, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Fear.